Three, two, one. Welcome to this published author's interview. My name is Kenneth Muyingo, and with me I have a special guest that I am going to be interviewing today. First, I just want to mention, if you would like to write a book and become an author yourself, there is a link with this interview for you to join the group. Click on that link and join the group, become an author and write your first book to connect with like-minded people who are doing the same. And with that said, I would like to get into the interview by asking my guest to say hello to our viewers and listeners and to introduce himself.
Hi guys, my name is Clyde de Souza. I am based in New Zealand. By profession, I'm a software developer, and in my spare time, I try to explore different opportunities. One of which was to write a book, to learn how to write a book and actually publish it. And that's how I ended up publishing my first book last year in November 2019.
Wow. Software developer and an author in your free time.
Yes.
I like this. Amazing. Thank you so much for making time for the interview, Clyde.
No problem, Ken. Thanks for the
So
opportunity.
you're welcome. Tell us about your book and the vision that you have for this book.
Sure. So I've written a children's bedtime storybook. It's titled Mama Tell Me a Story, and it's a collection of 12 short stories. And so the vision that I had with this book was to not only write entertaining stories, that can tap into a child's imagination, but also subtly convey a positive message. So for instance, instead of adding a directive at the end of the story, moral of the story, do this, you should do this.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, what I've done is I've blended the message with the character itself in each story. So I say that this character does this, right? Whatever the message I want to convey, I said this character does this. And so what kids would try to do is actually follow the character, try to imitate the character,
I see.
and in doing so, they will actually kind of absorb those same positive messages because they think that character does that, so I should do that as well. And that's how the stories are catered to. That's how the stories are written.
Wow, that's quite a unique way to put it. That, let me see if I understood this, that you write the character's story, and so when the book is being read to the child, they are absorbed into the character.
Yes.
And then rather than telling them what to do at the end, you tell them this is what the character that you have liked very much did.
Yes.
And in a way, they're like, if they do that, I think I should do that too, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
if this character, if this character, for instance, through the story, learns how to overcome their fear of heights,
Yeah.
And then finally manages to do that, then the kids, who are afraid of heights, they'll sort of try to imitate that character, and they say, oh, you know what, this character overcome their fear of heights, let me do that as well. And that's how sort of they get inspired, but also they get these messages. So not only trying to be afraid of, it's not just fear of heights, but across the board, across the board.
I see. Wow, that's very nice indeed.
Thank you.
And what inspired you to write this book?
Look, I mean, since I could remember, I've always been fascinated with stories. So I like to listen to stories. I like to read stories now, um, and and I appreciate the value stories have, in terms of the imaginative powers that it can tap into, and that is something that I liked, and that is something that I wanted to write for somebody else. And that's really what inspired me to write this book, because in this particular space, in this particular genre, for writing for children's bedtime stories, you can really tap into the imaginative capacity of a child, because you can go wild with the stories, and that's the power I wanted to try to write in my stories.
Wow. Indeed, stories are powerful, and it's the way I think for us to tap into the emotional aspect of our human nature. Because
Mm, yeah,
when we are sharing facts, we are connecting with our intellect. But
mm,
with a good story, you connect with people on an emotional level, and I think they are really powerful. I agree with you totally on this.
it
Um,
is. Yeah,
so the title of the book is Mama, Tell Me a Story.
that's correct.
How did you choose the title of the book?
I think that's when I was listing out the potential titles. What could I title this book? I think that sort of came as the first, is the first few titles, and that's like, I mean, I just thought it from a child's perspective. What would a child, when they're going to bed, what would they say?
Yeah,
And that's what they would say. They probably, their mother or father or their parent would be there by their bedside, and that's what they would say. They'll say, "Mama, Mama, tell me a story,"
ex-
and that's exactly what I just put in there.
wow. So you like almost like looked at this from the perspective, you put yourself in the position of the child and
Yeah.
you saw this from the end.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Very,
Absolutely. Yeah.
very unique indeed. Um, how did you choose the topic for the book? Because you are a software engineer and
Yeah.
then you write this amazing children's book, Mama, Tell Me a Story. I'm curious, how did you choose the topic?
Yeah. Um, so I guess there's two parts of it. One is really the overall topic of the book, which is bedtime stories, which have this perfect blend. So that was more of what inspired me to write the book, right? So I just wanted to tap into that imagination. I wanted to create stories, create that world which the reader can either listen to or read, and just get into that particular world. So that was the idea behind creating the overall topic of it, so the bedtime stories. But because this particular book has 12 short stories, now I needed 12 topics to write about. And so what I would do is um, I would look at the surroundings, do some research online, speak to a couple of friends and family, and come up with these topics. So come up with some messages, or just some ideas, that could be converted into a story, and then slowly draft out what the if I'm giving a message, ABC, what can I put, what story can I wrap around it, and then how can that message be conveyed in the best possible manner, again, because it should not be directive, it should be very subtle.
Uh,
So that's really the process that I followed when I came across the topics.
I see. Very insightful indeed. And so you said that you just got this passion and started writing, but your profession is software engineering. And with your experience with writing Mama Tell Me a Story, do
Yeah.
you consider yourself as a naturally talented writer, or is writing a skill that you are developing gradually?
That's a great question, Kenneth. I would say that I am not a natural writer. I have developed that skill. What I'm naturally good at is the creative and imaginative part. So I had this. So naturally, sort of, I had these ideas
Yeah,
of these stories, or just brief themes of what I want to convey. And now the only thing missing was just developing on that skill, writing and executing those ideas. and that's where I had to sort of slowly, gradually build up my writing skills. Um, and I used to blog like a few years ago, and now I started again as well.
Yeah,
Um, and if I compare an article from the past with an article from the present, there's a good difference, right? There's a progress
yeah,
between both the texts. Of course, it's not this exact same thing,
yeah,
but just in terms of writing,
yeah,
it's drastically improved. And of course, in the future, it'll improve as well. And so that is something that I want to work on. And because it's not natural, you have to work on not only not only the grammatical part of it, not only how do you write just stories, but also because you're packaging it into a book and not maybe an online article, not a blog article, which is two different ways.
yeah,
So when I read books, um, I pay attention to how the title is written, how the title is formatted as well.
yeah,
So where do they use full stops, where do they use quotes, how the story is formatted. All
yeah.
of those minor details I had to observe and learn, and that's how I ended up executing the ideas.
Indeed, I see. And I'm reminded of something I had sometime. It said the things that we do repeatedly, it's not that they become easier, but our ability to do them increases.
Mm,
And
well said. Yeah.
and I see what you mean that when you look back on some of your previous writings and the writing that you're doing recently, you can tell that there is a significant positive difference.
Mm,
Wow,
yeah.
very nice indeed. And what would you tell me is the one thing that has happened in your life personally that has had the greatest impact on you writing books? You being a software engineer,
Mm,
and then you have decided to get into the writing space.
yeah.
There, this just doesn't happen. There must be, maybe there is something that you would like to share. I have a feeling there is a wonderful story here.
Yeah, I don't know how wonderful it is, but I'll definitely share my thoughts. Um, I guess the biggest impact really was when I decided to explore different opportunities. Um, and I'll explain myself a bit here because um, the reason I said that that's had the biggest impact is because um, I did not, until last year, I did not know that you could sort of self-publish your stories on all these different platforms that you kind of you buy books from, but
Ah,
you could now actually publish your books on there. Um, and so I did not know about these opportunities. So I guess that's what had the biggest impact on because um, now that I know about these platforms, now I know about the opportunity available, that then becomes as a catalyst. So now all I have to do is just execute the idea at a faster pace.
I see.
And I would have probably written the book somewhere in the future if it was not for these exploration that I've done in the past. I would have written it, but maybe not now, right? Not like this year, not today. But now because I know that there are these opportunities available, and you just learn stuff, you read articles, and the information is out there, and it's very easy to upskill and learn how to do it.
Indeed.
That just opens up so many doors. Now I have the platform where I can actually publish my books on. So that's really what has had the biggest impact.
Indeed, I see. It really does simplify what, because sometimes we don't do things because we think it's too complicated, or
Mm,
we don't we have not informed ourselves appropriately. But
Yeah.
when we explore and find out what is available, then it opens up a whole new world of opportunities. And
Yes.
I like what you're saying, that you decided intentionally to explore new opportunities to just find out what is out there.
Yeah.
And then you found this and you're like, no, I have to do this.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice. And now that you know about these opportunities, my next question, I think, blends in really nicely with this. Uh, are you currently working on any other writing projects at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I am working on another book, another children's book. So similar to the first one, but with different stories and different messages. So it's currently work in progress, just very early stages. I have again, I followed the same process. I've put a few themes out there, a few messages that I want to convey, and I'm sort of trying to draft stories around that message. So that's very early stages of the second book uh, in the pipeline. Um,
Amazing.
and that's of course in the writing space. And apart from that, talking about exploring different opportunities. Um, this year I found out about low content and no content books, and what you could do with that in the Amazon space.
Yeah.
So I decided let me try that opportunity as well. So I have published a few books in that space, in the low content, no content space, um, and I have a few in the pipeline that's work in progress. So I'll be publishing that as well. The target is 50 books in that space, and I'm almost halfway there, I guess. So very soon, yeah.
Low content, no content. Can you, maybe one of our listeners is
Yeah,
curious about that. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
absolutely, absolutely. Even to be honest, even I was amazed that you could actually do that, and I was just reading about it a lot now. And so, what low content books are is it's not like your typical book, so it does not have a story, it does not have all these words. It it is it is um, it is for I can give you examples of it's something like a daily planner book, where you have there's a framework on each and every page, one page per day,
Yeah.
and that's basically the contents of the book. The cover is designed specifically for that book, so people can choose between different cover designs and buy that particular book. So there's like daily planners, there's journals, there's activity books for children, there's like ABC books that you can create. All of these things are in that space, and that is something that I'm exploring.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah,
That sounds like a pretty exciting opportunity. Thank you so
it is.
much
It is.
for sharing that. And this has been very insightful and very inspiring, Clyde. Thank you so much for making
Thanks,
time.
Ken.
And I just want to know if somebody watches this interview and they would like to buy your books, where can they buy Mama Tell Me a Story?
Absolutely. So Mama Tell Me a Story is available on Amazon and all the other platforms, Google Books and all the other platforms. And so I guess for the convenience of the person watching this video interview, I think what we'll do is we'll probably add those links, because there's quite a few platforms. So
Great.
we'll probably what we'll do is we'll add those links in the description, so it'll just be easier for the listeners to just click on the description links and then just visit that page.
Indeed, we will put the links with the interview. That's amazing. And if somebody watches this interview and they would like to connect with you, what is the best way for people to connect with you?
I think the easiest way is to just head on to my website. So that's www.clydesouza.net. And there's links to my social media profiles from my website. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, so feel free to follow me. And I usually post different things out there. So hopefully that should be quite interesting.
Very nice. We will put that link to your website as well with the
Awesome.
interview. And my last question, not the least, uh, is there anything else that you would like to mention that we were not able to touch on in the interview?
Hmm. Um, this video interview has been great. Actually, we have covered a lot of content. Um, I know um, we have been discussing this before, just before the interview, where you mentioned that these interviews, these video interviews you're putting together, is to basically inspire um, other authors, perhaps, for them to take the first step, um, and for them to just be inspired by other published authors. And I guess as my final thoughts, I probably want to leave them with a message, uh, and my message is really to take that first step. Don't hesitate to just take the first step. I think what happens is, we hesitate. We have all these drafts, and we hesitate to finalize them. Finalize the manuscripts, because what happens is you read your story that you have written, and you always find there's something that can be improved on.
Right.
I could make this word a bit better. I could frame the sentence a bit better, but that just keeps on going.
Right.
And I guess it's really important um, to be satisfied at one point of time, to say that yes, this version of the manuscript is, I'm happy with this version, and I'm going to put it out there. And I'm going to publish it, and I'm going to get feedback from my friends and family, see what they have to say, and then use that feedback for the next book that I write and that I publish. So I guess taking that first step is what's really important.
Wow, thank you so much, Clyde. This was very insightful and very inspiring for me, and I know as well for our viewers and listeners. It's been
Awesome. Glad I could help.
I will sure be keeping in touch with you.
Thanks. Same here.
You're welcome.